that was.
Yeah. Now, the practice quiz that we did in class, right here.
I forget, do we put in the remaining numbers in our matrix?
Now, let's go back through this. We'll do one together, and then we'll see if you can do the second one all on your own, okay? So we are going to do the calculator practice quiz, and we're doing the first problem. Now, the quiz will only have one. I just put 2 on here for extra practice, but your quiz will only have 1. So, by the way, do I need to have a calculator tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you taking it tomorrow?
Taking it? Oh, wait. Do I see you tomorrow? All right. The next time I see you, we take it. Now, if you want to come in during flex tomorrow and practice with me, you're not coming in just to take the quiz. You got to spend some quality time with me. Then we can take the quiz. All right. So the first thing I've done is made sure that I have copied everything correctly. Everything is all lined up, and we're ready to go. So everybody got that? Now, I know that I am going to come out with a new matrix, and that is going to give me my answer. So I'm going to put it in. So here I go. Second matrix. Where do I start with second matrix? I got to go all the way over to edit, press enter. Now, what are the dimensions of this matrix? 3 by 4. So 3, enter, 4, enter. And then it will set up my box for me. And I'll put these numbers in. So I just type the number and then enter. Type the number and then enter. And if you're watching, you see it goes across. And then it comes back down and goes across again. Just let the calculator do what it does. Type in the number, press enter, making sure that you are using the negative button. Somebody earlier couldn't figure out why everything was coming up error, and it's because he was using the subtract. Use the negative button. And after you put that very last 2 in and press enter, then what do we do? Second quit. We're done. You're quitting that screen. You are done putting the stuff in. Okay? So now we're going to go back to second. Whoops, I turned it off. We're going to go back to second matrix. Maddie, can you just take a picture of somebody's then? Yeah. I'll give you mine when I'm done with it. So we're going to go second matrix, and this time we're going to go over to math, over 1. Then we have to go all the way down to RREF. So we got to make sure we're pressing the RREF button. Then we press it, hit enter, and then go back and second matrix enter. And now your screen should say RREFA. Press enter. Oh no, Mrs. Ford made up a problem and didn't rig it. Did you get some bunch of hideous decimals? Okay, no panic. Hit the math button, the regular math button, the one that's on the keyboard. Hit math and then enter. And it will, it's still not good, but at least now it's fractions. And the answers are...
Should we do decimals?
No, no.
We have to use
If you have to round them off, you got to use fractions. So we got 614 205s, negative 86 205s,
just yell that.
negative 339 205s. Does anyone match that, or did I type in a wrong number? Okay. So then my answer is 614 205, negative 86 205, and 339 205. Now, boys and girls, please don't whine about having to write stuff down. You don't have to do anything on this problem except write it down. So take the time and write it down. So here's my matrix looking the way I needed it to look. And then here are my fractions. And once again, to get those fractions, once my matrix came up, I just hit the math button, the actual physical math button on the screen, and then hit enter a couple times, and it changed it for me into fractions.
So you should always have the 3 in a row kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the quiz you just took where you used Kramer's rule? And remember how your answers had the same denominator, or at least they started with the same denominator? Look at these answers. If I had used Kramer's rule on this problem, what do you think my original determinant would have been? 205. And then I would have done a separate determinant for X, Y, and Z and come up with those numbers. All right, let's try another one. We got another one, do it exactly the same way. A little bit bigger this time. Remember, if my letters are going to be A, B, C, D, anything that's missing has to go in as a 0, right? Please make sure everything is lined up and organized. You can't just stick numbers in. Whoops. They have to go in order. Oops. So take a look at that and make sure I didn't make any mistakes. And I randomly made up this problem too, so we are probably going to get some wild, wacky answer. And that's okay. Does that matrix look okay to everybody? All right, let's put it in. So second matrix across to edit. How big is this guy?
4x5.
This is a 4x5, so make sure you put in 4, enter, 5, enter. Because if you don't, you won't have enough spots in your matrix. I wish I were as good at this button pressing as you guys are. All your texting has made you very good at that. Okay, who remembers? What do I do once I get it in?
Second quit.
I second quit. I'm done. Once I get it in, I'm going to quit doing that. So second quit. Now it's in.
You go to second.
So now I got to go back into the matrix mode, over to math.
And then RREF.
I'm going to RREF it, and I'm going to make a note here that that's what I'm doing. That's the button I'm pressing.
And you go back to second base.
Press enter, and then back to second matrix, and press enter again, and enter one more time.
And then you fraction it.
So now I'm going to change these. Some of the decimals look kind of bad. One of them's okay, but the rest of them are kind of wacky. So I'm going to just press my math button and then enter, and it gives me my fractions. Now, if it goes off the screen, you might have to arrow over to see the numbers. I got 353 over 248, 131 over 62, 1/8, and negative 3861 over 248. Bless you.
Bless you.
Did anybody get this?
Yes.
Mhm.
I want you to write all that out. This is what you need to write. You need to write the matrix you put in, RREF, the matrix that comes out, and then your solution. So that's what we'll do next time we're together. Is that okay with everybody? One problem. It'll be probably a half sheet of paper. One problem. Okay? All right, we have flex tomorrow. I don't see you tomorrow, but we still have flex. So you can come in if you're having a hard time. Please make sure you have a calculator with you. Okay? When you come in. All right. Now, back to our notes. Yep, we're on page 47. We're going to start our linear programming problems. Before we do, though, I want to mention something so that I don't forget. Remember how last semester you all wrote a paper? Well, not all of you did, unfortunately. Those of you that didn't got 0 out of 20, which is just dumb. Those of you who wrote the paper, remember, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so how long did the paper have to be?
A page.
1 page, MLA format, type, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to email you.
Yep, you don't email it to me. No. Mrs. Ford takes a hard copy, and I'll give you the due date when I figure it out, but it'll be right before Easter. So you got 6 weeks, okay, to get it done. I think spring break is in there, in the middle of all that, but it's due after that, okay? So here's what this one's about. Rules are the same. 1 page, submitted hard copy, right? I'll give you a due date. If you turn it in early, there'll be a little bit of bonus for being early, just like there was last time. Here's what it's about. Did you listen to Mrs. Heron's prayer this morning? No. Oh.
No one listens to Mrs. Heron, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it was a good prayer.
No one ever.
That's fair.
Disrespect.
That is sad.
No.
That is sad.
Really.
Okay, well, I respect the librarians, and I listened to what she said, and I always enjoy her prayer because how does she always end it? She always ends it by saying,
I love you
I
guys.
love you guys.
Well, she
Yeah.
says hello. She says hello, God.
Well, that's the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning she goes, hi, God.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, her message was, Lent's coming, and during Lent, a lot of people of faith choose to make an action of some kind of improvement, whether it's improving yourself by making some kind of sacrifice, like you're not going to use bad language, you're not going to drink soda, you're not going to eat French fries, whatever it is, or you choose to do something good. So instead of denying yourself, you choose to do something extra. So here is what I'm asking you. This has nothing to do with being Catholic or not Catholic. It has nothing to do with church. I do it during Lent because it's kind of a Lenten thing for me, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with Lent. You can be a non-believer. This is not a church thing. I'm simply asking you to think of one kind gesture that you can make to help out someone else on a regular basis for the next few weeks. So, for example, maybe you'll choose to do the dishes every Wednesday night. Or maybe you'll go visit Grandma every Saturday afternoon. Or maybe you'll play football with your little brother before he has to go to bed. Whatever it is, any kind of little thing that you can do to improve somebody else's life. Maybe, Joe, maybe you'll say, maybe you already do this, but maybe you'll say, I'm going to give my mom a goodnight kiss every single night. Wow, what an impact that would have if you did that. And maybe you already do it, so what else could you do? Maybe you could give your little brother a goodnight kiss, I don't know. Whatever small little thing is. I'm not asking you to change the world, but I'm asking you to think of something that you can do more than once. So I'm not talking about, I cleaned my room on March 28th. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, if you clean your room every Sunday afternoon, that's a good one. But this has to be something that you do more than once. But it can be a little tiny thing. that makes somebody else's life a little bit better. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then you're gonna write about it. You're gonna tell me what you did, how it impacted you, and how it impacted the other person.
So we can't turn this in early.
You can't really you can turn it in a couple weeks early maybe. If you've done it for 4 or 5 weeks, you can turn it in. But yeah, this isn't something you go home tonight and do. No. Okay? If you have a problem with this assignment, if you say to me, Mrs. Ford, I'm not doing that. You can't make me. And you're right, I can't. But I can give you an alternative assignment. So I'm holding you accountable for a writing. If you do not want to participate in this, you need to come talk to me and we'll figure out an alternative. But again, I'm just asking you to make somebody else's life better. And one final caution. I forget when it was. It was a few years ago, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I don't know. I was up there on the elliptical reading these papers, and you know I read them. If you wrote one last time, you got it back. You know it was read. I read it. Oh my God, I just start crying. It's the most beautiful thing I ever read. I came right down here, went in, called up the mom and said, oh my gosh, aren't you so proud of your son? I can't even believe that. And she's like, Lisa, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you know, this, and this. She said, I don't know what you're talking about. The entire paper was fabricated. Now, of course, it got a 0. So I don't want you doing that. All right, I don't want you making something up. If you really can't think of anything nice to do for someone, then you can tell me and we'll find an alternative assignment. But don't make something up. But nothing is too small. Don't say, oh, that won't count because it's nothing. Check with me if you want. But if whatever you do is going to be fine with me if it's helping someone else.
Service hours count.
No, this is something extra you're doing. Extra. This
Too,
is
like you
something.
take the trash out for your thing.
Yeah, take the trash out every week on trash day. You take the trash out without being asked. How cool would that be?
I don't mess with trash.
Okay, well, pick
You
another
can clean the
topic.
toilet.
I don't mess with trash.
All right, but
I'm gonna cook
anyhow,
my family some
you got about 6 weeks to get that done. It's gonna be due in about 6 weeks. So it'll be due the week before Easter.
Dude, come on.
Okay? I'll let you know exactly when.
Okay, man.
It is 20 points. And those of you that did this before know that if you address the prompt, you pretty much get 20 out of 20. Unless you have horrible grammar, horrible spelling, you know, a whole paper is one sentence, that kind of stuff, you might get 19 or 18.
Just don't email it.
Yeah, I use the restroom.
Can I put it in Comic Sans?
No. Can you hold it? We're almost done. Okay. All right, so everybody turn to page 47. We are going to do, and hopefully we're going to get it done, we are going to do a linear programming problem. No, you do not need a calculator for this. When we take our test next week, one problem on the test like this. So it's a whole page, but it's one problem and it's going to be set up just like this. So you will have the problem, the typed words. You'll have your chart that will be all set up for you. And it will be labeled appropriately for the problem. You will have an expression to maximize, or sometimes it's minimize. Linear programming is all about finding maximums or minimums. Those of you who think you're going to have a career in business, I'm telling you, you got to understand the basics of linear programming. Okay? Years ago, Mr. O'Hara's dad, Jim O'Hara, who used to be our football coach years ago, he was getting his MBA. And he needed help he said, I need some help with some math stuff. And when I sat down to help him with it, it was this. It's linear programming. This stuff is part of every business curriculum. It's easy. So you're going to have an expression that you have to maximize or minimize. You're going to figure that out from reading the problem. And then you're going to write, I don't know, I don't really have room, I'll put them up here. You're going to write some equations that you are going to graph on your grid. Now, you'll notice that the grid I have established is only quadrant 1. Do you see that? That means automatically that X and Y are going to be positive. Now that makes sense, because if we're talking about making widgets, we can't have negative widgets. If we're talking about selling cars, we can't sell negative cars. If we're talking about business, we want positive values. Okay? So here we go. You're taking a test in which type A are worth 10 points. I'm reading the sentences and filling in my chart. Type B are worth 15 points. A's take 3 minutes. B's take 6 minutes. I have a total of 60 minutes. And I can't answer more than 16 questions. Assuming all of your answers are correct, how many items of each type should you answer to get the best score, the maximum score? So what you are going to maximize is your score. Okay? Now, I need to call these guys something. So you can say X's are, or A's are X's and B's are Y's. That's what I do. But if you want to use A's and B's, you can. But X is the number of A questions I'm going to answer. Y is the number of B questions I'm going to answer. And I know from the problem that X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 16. It tells me that I can only answer 16 questions. Can I answer less than 16? Yep. Probably don't want to because I'm trying to maximize my score, right? But I can answer less than 16, but I can't answer more than 16. Furthermore, I only have 60 minutes. So 3 X's, 3 minutes for every X, 6 minutes for every Y has to be less than or equal to 60. Now some of you are going to struggle with writing those. The chart really helps. See how they're lined up? That really helps. Try to use that. We got several practice problems too. You'll get better at it. Now, these two I didn't really have to figure out. These are gimmies. These are going to be part of every problem, probably. Okay? Now I'm going to sketch this. Now one thing I want to make sure you know is that the graph, I labeled it for your convenience, but you can change those labels. You can also extend the graph, especially in the horizontal direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm going to extend it out to 20, and you'll see why in a minute.
Ours only goes to 12.
I know yours only goes to 12. I said you can extend it.
It's gonna be ugly.
Now, you don't have to. What do you do in econ when your numbers are bigger than your grid? You change the scale, right? So you're allowed to change the scale if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it as ones, but I had to extend it. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to graph it. To graph this guy, here is my suggestion. Cover up X. If I cover up X, Y is 16. cover up y. X is 16. Connect those two dots. Supposed to be a straight line. Mine usually aren't very straight, but connect those dots with a straight line. So how do I get those points again? We call them the intercepts. I covered up x, the equation said y equals 16. I covered up y, the equation said x equals 16. Now, that's an inequality. Where's it shaded? Inside the triangle or outside the triangle? It's a less than, so it's shaded inside the triangle. So far, I am looking at that big red triangle. You don't have to shade elaborately, just enough that you know what's going on. All right, now I'm going to sketch this one. Okay? So I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to cover up the x's. If I cover up the x's, what's y? 10. And then I'm going to cover up the y's. What's x? Yep. Where's the purple shaded? Below it or above it? It's a less than, so it's shaded below. So now I am looking basically, I'm just going to outline it. I'm looking at this shape. Would you agree with me? This purple shape here? Right here? That is the part of my graph that is shaded red and purple. Now, I don't need to graph these because I already have that taken care of because I'm only working in quadrant 1. Now, any point inside this area satisfies the qualifications of the problem. So in other words, you would be allowed, 1, 2, 3, to do 3 A's and 4 B's. That would be allowed. This point would be allowed. This point would be allowed. Lots of points are allowed, but you're not interested in being allowed. You're interested in being the biggest, right? The biggest score is going to come from one of these purple points called the vertices. So one of those points is going to be the answer to the question. So if you did 0, 10, that would be 0 A's and 10 B's. What would be your score? Well, how do I calculate my score? How do you calculate your score? You get 10 points for every X and 15 points for every Y, right? So if you did no X's, but you did 10 Y's, what would be your score? 150. Okay, that's a pretty good score. What about this point? What point's that? 0, 0. Well, that's, what if you don't do any questions? You get 0 points. That is not the maximum, that is the minimum. One of those points will be the maximum, one will be the minimum. Every time. Sometimes we want the lowest, not this case. All right, what about 16, 0? What if we did 16 A's and no B's? What would be that score? 160. Okay. I need that point, and I can't really tell what it is.
I have about 11.4.
He has about 11.4.
I have 11.4.
Now, is about 11.4 going to be acceptable to Mrs. Ford? No. How do we find where two lines intersect?
You took their equation.
We substitute or eliminate or use Kramer's rule. So I'm going to take x plus y equals 16 and 3x plus 6y equals 60.
Oh, we have to do this?
You do. And you can do it however you want. So Malcolm, do you want to substitute, eliminate, or use Kramer's rule? Let's eliminate. I love it. My favorite. Let's eliminate. If we're going to eliminate, we would probably multiply the top by, what do you want to do, Malcolm? -3? Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
So we have -3x minus 3y, -48. 3x, 6y, 60. So 3y equals 12. Somebody said y was 4. You were right. Y is 4. Now, if y is 4, what would x be? 12? So we're not taking about answers. We're working it out algebraically and getting an answer, and it was 12, 4. That's where these two lines cross each other. Okay? So what's my score if I do 12 A's and 4 B's? 180.
I can get that though.
Emma?
With this one, I got like exactly 12.4. If it was on the point itself, would we have to do all of that over again?
I'm not going to say you have to do anything. You're going to trust your graph, and if the answer turns out to be 11.5 and 6.3, your graph is not going to give that to you. So as long as, it's your problem, your answer. If you want to go that route, you can. I would never do that. I would always work it out. But if you're confident, oh yeah, that works, then you can go with it, sure.
Why this one? You see all those points?
What do we put?
Now, Maddie says, oh my gosh, Mrs. Ford, we've done all this. What do I put for the answer?
No, you plug them into that.
So what was the question?
And then you plug those in.
Assuming all of your answers are correct, how many of each type should you answer to get the best score?
12 A's, 4 B's.
You should
So
answer
you take the two equations and then
12A questions
you take the two. So you take your two.
and 4B questions. And very often, it will also ask you for the score, so I'm going to go ahead and include that, for a score of 180. It didn't ask me for that, but it often does. Now, you are looking at this thinking, seriously, you're going to make me do this all by myself. Yes, I am going to make you do it all by yourself. But the good news is we have more problems to practice, and we will. And we will. So we got a couple more to go. We don't really have time to start the next one. So, if you want to, Jane's starting it. She's getting a head start on it.
I'll forget if I start on it, so I gotta wait.